Alright, another video today. Brought you all to a beautiful location, at least in my opinion. This is Rio Del Mar. It's one of my favorite beaches as a kid. Despite that disgusting contaminated river, as I've heard it been called like 4 or 5 times since I've been here today. And it brought me back to when I was a kid, always trying to run across there, not understanding why my parents would tell us that it's contaminated, but then also we see it go into the ocean where we also swam at. And it never really made sense and still doesn't make sense. And I think that that's one of many things as a culture we need to address in our not just contaminated water right here, but our entire culture is pretty contaminated in many aspects. Unless you really are diligent about protecting yourself from every sort of harm in every sort of way, you're pretty much going to be at risk for any number of things. Precocious puberty is what I'm going over today. I think it's the number one most alarming health scare in the developmental arena. You know, if you're someone who is a parent or wants to be a parent one day, this is a very informational video for you. Precocious puberty should be on every parent's mind. It either is on your mind constantly and you're doing things to mitigate the precociousness of your child's puberty, or you've probably never heard of it, which is most Americans, judging by the fact that I've had lots of conversations about it with people, and I'm the only person that I've ever found in real life to even know what it is, aside from a teacher that I'll share with you that story real quick. When I was in developmental psychology class over at UC Santa Cruz a couple years ago, before I completely gave up on the education program in our country. But basically, I was sitting in class, and this is after, mind you, I had been self-educating myself for almost half a decade at that point, just on different, Paleolithic principles of health. I had read The Vegetarian Myth at that point. I had been, studying all sorts of different um, natural health arenas. I studied gaps, and I basically had come to a lot of understandings, and so going into that class was even more of an eye-opening experience for me than normal education always had been. I'd always been a very um, question-asking person, I guess. But anyways, let me just get to the story. So she was in class telling us in our developmental psychology class that she was essentially a new teacher just reading out of the textbook. And her textbook she was reading out of said that due to enhancements in American nutrition, girls are now hitting puberty earlier and earlier, which is also what this Dr. Mercola article got. But God bless him for constantly bringing up this issue among other issues. If you can read that there, study finds girls now enter puberty even earlier than previously thought. And what our teacher told us that, I basically asked her, I said, okay, well, could you explain to us, what are these enhancements? Because I've read a lot about our food system kind of going in the wrong direction, but I have never read anything about an enhancement, and I still don't see how that would lead to a lower puberty age if our diet was getting enhanced. It seems like our puberty age should stay the same if our diet was, approaching normal again. And because at this point, like I said, I'd already read Vegetarian Myth. She talks about in there how, especially for girls, puberty age used to be between 17 and 18. Now it's like, I forget what she referenced in the book. I don't think it was as young as they're saying even today. But for anyone who doesn't know, the age of puberty in this country, the new normal, which I could not put enough quotations on that bullshit, is now being called 8 to 9. So only if your daughter is like 7 or 6 and showing signs of puberty is it a problem that you would want to go to your doctor about in their eyes. And by they, I mean like the establishment, the people who are setting the new standards, whoever gets to do that. But yeah, it's basically, as he puts it here, a new longitudinal study found that girls are developing breasts at an increasingly younger age, which is part of, and this is the important part, which is part of a disturbing trend in the sexual development of our children. And this isn't just females. Females are much more noticeable when they hit puberty, so it's much more talked about, it's much more studied. Men tend to just be shorter when they hit precocious puberty, and you can call regular puberty, I'll wait till that music passes, you can call regular puberty 8 to 9 if you would like. I know it's not. I know that our species has been the same for millions of years. Even the neocortex development changed some things, and I'm going to get to some of those things that we've now implemented in my eyes irresponsibly. But the neocortex didn't change our DNA. We still should be hitting puberty in my eyes around the same time. Guys should be hitting puberty around the same time as girls, and then it should be lasting much longer. Guys used to grow till they were like 25. Now, guys are hitting puberty. The new average, they say, is about a year past girls in a few different studies I've read recently. So if the girls' average now is 8 to 9, then the boys' average is 9 to 10. And so we're looking at kids who are becoming adults mentally, getting sexual reproductive hormones sent through their body in elementary school. And for me, there's nothing more troubling than that. Just facts. Call it a statistic, call it a fact. It doesn't really matter. It's a trend that I'm going to have a graph to show you in a moment, but it's not arguable. No one's arguing it. They're just saying that it's changing. And maybe some people out there are calling it evolution. That is not evolution. Evolution is when you get more and more set up for your life here on Earth, and life here on Earth has been beautiful. We've had harmony. We've had great things. We are now degenerating. We are now devolving. We're going in the wrong direction, where our height's going down, our sizes of our brain is going down, our age of puberty is also going down with it, but it's all part of a disturbing trend that, in my eyes, just goes back to irresponsibility. We've had a lot of great advancements that our neocortex has brought us. We've been able to manipulate things that we never thought we could, been able to create comforts that we never thought we could, but we've taken those to the extreme, and we've overlooked medical research that has shown us alarming trends and just kept going in the direction we're going, as opposed to stopping, taking a look backwards and saying, what is it that we're doing as a culture to cause this stuff? And so, yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an idea. In my eyes, it's just obvious how bad that is if our brain doesn't stop developing till 30 to be sent adult signals and have your brain turn from a sponge to not a sponge, which is, what's called established thought at this point. I honestly think that that should be challenged. I think that our ability to learn should be relatively static across life. That's just my theory. I think that the reason why it becomes so fixed and doesn't really change much, and people kind of become set in their ways of puberty, is lots of reasons. But I think in the last couple hundred years, puberty isn't just the point where your body, is ready to become an adult. It's also when your body is over the toxins. It just kind of goes into this defense mechanism of just becoming set in their ways, and they find habits and patterns and different things like that to keep them sane. But it's not a sane existence to be unhealthy. It's not a sane existence to be in pain, which is why so many people are seeking help in the form of medications or constant yoga or constant different coping mechanisms that aren't helping them necessarily become better people, but just helping them stay the same. And so yeah, I'm getting off topic, but definitely wanted to say a lot of that stuff. So just want to show you guys here. The age of onset of puberty has dropped 4 years since 1920 is what this is titled, if you can see this graph. But if you can see the graph, I'll read to you what I wrote in there in a second. I just want you guys to see what graph I'm talking about here. In this graph, it references very closely what Lear Keith taught me in the vegetarian myth, which is basically, like I said, that girls are supposed to hit puberty around 17 or 18, and then now they're hitting it much, much younger. But anyways, the age in 1860, which is the first year this graph starts. I don't know exactly what the record keeping was for this sort of stuff prior, but I'm glad we have something this far back at least. So 1860, it was 16.6 was the average, which is pretty close to what Larry Keith is saying. It's off by like a year in the one direction, although it's very close to 17. And then something that I wrote in here, I don't know if you saw it when I held up the graph, is just the Jack Cruz part of my brain now. I feel like he's opened up a whole other side of my thinking as far as blue light and EMFs and how that all affects our hormones. But so in 1880, the light bulb was invented. And so if you look from 1860 to 1920, that's, what is that, 60 years? So in 60 years, the average age of puberty goes down to 14.6. So for me, I think a lot of what initially started messing with us in that period is just electricity and the fact that we kept altering our environment, altering our sleep cycles, messing with our melatonin production, which in turn messes with our pineal gland, which in turn messes with our hormonal entire body. So uh, that's just my theory there. But anyways, I'm just gonna go on. 1920, uh, the age is 14.6. Then around that time, between 1920 and 1950, which is the next point on the graph, not 100% on here, but around that time is when they were really doing a lot of changes with dairy. They're adding in pasteurization, homogenization, and definitely ruined what was once like a staple of health in this country, where kids got a lot of their calcium, kids got a lot of their protein in a healthy, raw, usable format. And once that changed to a completely, toxic cow liquid is how I look at it. And the reason for the pasteurization process, I've got into on one of my other videos if you'd seen it, but just quickly, it's basically the cows got really sick, the milk got really sick looking, they couldn't sell it to consumers in the current state, so they added this pasteurization process, which was to make the milk look undetectable to the consumer, so the consumer couldn't tell good milk from bad milk. And then you can fast forward from there. It just pretty much kept getting worse once they added all those tricks, and then hormones ensued and all the different things they've done with dairy since then. It's definitely sad, but in 1920s is the age that I remember reading about, that was when they were simultaneously giving it out as a health tonic from like naturopathic doctors and the sort, like holistic sort of practicing doctors. We're still giving out raw milk as like a health supplement, but then at the same time was when they were adding in pasteurization and trying to say it was this new healthy way and all the bullshit like they always do. But anyways, so from that period, just 30 years, the age drops another year and a half to 13.1 is the average age of puberty, and now we're approaching, or no, that's middle. That's already in middle school. It's like 8th grade right there. And so then between 1950 and 1980 is the next point on there. I pulled in a little of my Lear Keith knowledge. 1970 is like when they really, the sugar corporations took over and they completely made a grain-based food pyramid for their profit-based reasons, which also promoted sugar at the top of it. And our health, I think, fell quicker due to that, among other things. But yeah, so between 1950 and 1980, the age of puberty went from 13.1 to 12.5. Another little shift down. And then from 1980 to 2010, that's a period that Jack Cruz taught me a lot about. 1995 being a defining year for almost any busy, populated city in this country. That was when I was 9. I'm thankful to have 9 years of EMF, relatively low pollution, if anything, living prior to turning 10 when 1995 hit, and EMFs just became everywhere. All of our cell phones became two-way devices, and EMFs just became a thing of, the future, and we seem to be never turning back. One of the many reasons I want to get around like-minded people in a community that put health first, and fancy little gadgets like iPhones second. But so yeah, 2010 is where this graph ends at 10.5, and then like I said, fast forward till today, and they're teaching people that 8 and 9 is the appropriate ages. I obviously wanted nothing to do with that sort of teaching program. I didn't want to contribute to it, my time or my money, and so I never stepped foot in another classroom again. I probably never will in this country. That was the last, obvious example that I didn't really need. I mean, this country, anyone can look into it. Our education system is not meant to better us. It's meant to keep us where we're at. It's meant to numb and dumb. And so yeah, I mean, that one line that she said will forever be burning in my head, and then the fact that she was irritated with me and wanted to move on with the class when she couldn't offer anything credulous as to why she said it, other than the fact that she was reading from a book, which, we can all read by the time we get to college, so if that's essentially all she's doing, I mean, she's wasting all of our time and money. But anyways, I'm obviously still bitter about that teacher teaching the youth of this nation who just soaked that up and aren't even saying anything back at it. I was the only person in the class to have a problem with it out of all those open-minded UC thinkers, which again, I'm not using enough quotations for that. But yeah, so I just wanted to reiterate what a disturbing trend that is. I want you all to question, like I am, the new normals that they're trying to put out to us. I think our normals have been established by Mother Nature for a long time now. And so yeah, I just wanted to get into some other things that are definitely adding to all this toxic mess and the hormonal fluctuations and stuff that we're experiencing. It mentions in here, I didn't know this. I knew that, like I had said, that men are just essentially getting smaller is the main change. Women and men are both hitting puberty earlier, but estrogen being the main culprit that everyone's guessing at. And estrogen, there's too many different ways that they get it into us for me to talk about right now. But one thing that is controllable to an extent, although there is definitely a lot of victim blaming in this arena going on. I just saw that John Burke video, and where I do feel he was coming from a good place and that he wants to help the youth of this nation and help people who maybe need that kick in the butt to get to their healthier body. We don't understand just how different everyone's life is, and how just because you have one life and maybe for you it's easy to attain fitness, that's not to say that there aren't people who are trying their hardest every single day and don't ever make it to a place where they feel good about their body or about their life or their fitness level. And so I just think I basically just want to say that while I can give you tips on these blogs, and I am going to be giving you help with losing weight, obesity, I align with Jack Cruz in that I believe it's an inflammatory brain condition, and I think that as a result, your self-control is hard to monitor, and then it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing at that point, and that eating obviously negatively impacts the brain, the overeating, I should say, and then also your brain so negatively over toxified and whatever, that it is constantly craving things that's going to make it, well, like sugar or release type foods that'll just, like comfort foods that'll make you just feel okay for a second. And that's what people don't understand. It's just the mental health aspect of obesity and how it ties in with itself. And basically, at the end of the day, as much as he might have meant well, he is in some senses victim blaming, just because you can't overgeneralize and say that every single person out there has the ability to just attain this perfect body. If you've really studied animal studies and people studies as I have, you can see that a lot of our health, most credible people that I believe in say at least 50% of your health is a direct result of your parents and what they did prior to conceiving you, what they did while you were in your mother's womb, where they chose to live at while you were being raised. There's so many factors that are just completely out of the individual's control. And in this country, it's just so much easier to blame the victim as opposed to looking at our society as a whole and saying, like, why are our childhood cancers going up? Why is autism going up? Why is puberty age going down? Why are all these disturbing trends just going on and no one's saying anything about them? And we're all just waiting until people get to an age where they're old enough to say that they want to go to a doctor, and then they just get blamed. They get told, oh, here's a medication, stop crying about it. And it's just a system that needs to change. And I'm going to move on, not getting off track there, but what I was starting towards is that the reason that estrogen and obesity tie into each other is that literally, and I just learned this recently, I couldn't believe it, but every fat cell in your body is an estrogen producing factory. And not only does every fat cell produce estrogen, but that's where estrogen is stored, is in your fat cells. So the higher your weight is above your optimal, the more estrogen is going to be in your DNA as opposed to what you were born onto this planet with. And so, there are different situations where I think that people go towards that, whether or not they know that they're going towards that, but for a reason. Like, I think that if you're someone who is, not getting the sexual activity that you would like, which is most of our nation, I think that you're going to be more likely to go into things that turn off your sex drive, like estrogen, as opposed to something, like health food, or something like finding a fit, active, healthy lifestyle that's going to fill your body with hormones you may or may not believe that you'll ever have a release for. And I totally understand, like, all that sort of pains and strife, and I also understand that food is joy for a lot of people. And so if you don't have much joy in your life and food is it, And I understand why you want to keep those certain things in your life, whether or not you know that they're super good for you. But where I do agree and I do feel for John Burke is just the kids of this nation. You can't overlook the kids of this nation and just assume that they want to fall prey to the same vices that we have. Just because we're addicted to sugar, just because we're addicted to different things that we may like and we may not like anything else in our life that really keeps us going other than those little things. And I'm not going to tell you, as a person, as an adult, how to live your life, but I'm going to say as a member of the human species that we all owe it to our youth to treat them better than we are. And so for me, that means, before you have any thoughts towards having children, towards planning a family, both the mother and father, in my eyes, should be tested for blood tests and hormone tests and make sure that everything's at optimal. And if it's not at optimal, figure out why that is and fix that problem while you are a strong, big, healthy adult and you're not learning through your kid that's going to develop those same problems that you're suffering from, but 10 times. Because kids, like for EMFs, for instance, are much, much, much more impacted than we will ever be, because it's all relative to how much mitochondria you have in your body that are being slowed down, and also to how much muscle you have in your body. So if you're a big, healthy, thriving dude, for instance, and I mentioned this in my dog food video, you've seen that, you basically are much less, you have much less worry with EMFs because they're all hitting your muscles and you have those barriers, and you also have a shit ton more mitochondria with your shit ton more cells. If you're a small little baby, you don't have all that protection. So every day that you're in this microwave nation that we're in, and this is a perfect view, I tried to come to the beach, and look, we got these electricity and all these wires and lines, and it's a perfect reminder for me that while this used to be paradise, while this is the most gorgeous view looking at this sunset and seeing this California, coast, at the same time, it's largely been ruined by people who don't know that health is the beginning of everything. Like, even unhealthy people, without health, you would have no joys in your life. All the joy in your life comes from your liver. Even when you drink, even when you do drugs, those toxins go and attack your liver. Your liver sends out feel-good hormones to tell you everything's going to be okay. Things are going to be all right here. And so, I want people to understand from a holistic point of view what our lifestyle means before they go and reproduce it. And so if this is what's fun for you, this is what's awesome for you, be here. It's not easy to be healthy in this area. It's not easy to persist in this area. But I'm not going to tell you that no one should live in California. I am going to say, though, that the youth of this nation shouldn't be being raised in this area. It's just not safe for lots of reasons I'm going to get into more and more as these videos go along. But I seriously just really want to put that out there, that if you and your husband or you and your partner, whoever that may be, are thinking about procreating, see to it that you're healthy first. And if you can't find health here, stop blaming yourself. Your DNA is not that bad. No matter how many disease factors you have, that's one uplifting thing that Jack Cruz taught us all, is that the Centurion Club, I don't know if you heard about that study they've done recently. I think it was at Stanford or one of these pretty high up institutions in this area. But they did a Centurion study on all these 100-plus-year-olds, and they came to find that all of them had the same 8 to 10 on average, which is the new average of diseases that we're all kind of predisposed to. And so it's up to us as a people to get our mitochondria as healthy as possible, get our livers as healthy as possible, get our diet and lifestyle as healthy as possible, so that we can persist like they have. And so this isn't a doom and gloom announcement that, hey, our species is going, extinct tomorrow. We are headed in that direction, and that is very much what this is about. If you look at the epigenetics of our species, everyone who's studied that thinks that we're on our way out and that that's basically where we're going. I think that we can turn it around. I think that if we start promoting health of the youth and the health of mothers above all, we can start seeing massive changes in our species. And also another big thing that we haven't really implemented on that large of a scale yet, but it is a positive trend that I see, is inbreeding depression just being invented in just being found in the 30s or so. It's a big finding where people used to not know that, if you have a baby with somebody of the same race as you, they're going to be more predisposed to disease as opposed to if you have babies with people across the globe. And so I'm not saying that, if you're in love with your white fiance and you're white, or you're Asian and they're Asian, that, God forbid that you have a child. I'm just saying that that is one thing that we have going for us in the direction of longevity of our species. And so I just wanted to share that as like some good that we have with the bad, as far as changes that are coming in this world, because unification of our species is one thing the developed world has really done for us, and I hope continues to do. I want to link up with people via the internet much more so than I have in the past, more so than just family and stuff like that, like I have. But anyways, just want to move on here. He basically also has, and I already showed you guys the article, and he has got like, Mercola's got like 4 of them from different years. This is the most recent one. But depression and anxiety, eating disorders, substance abuse, premature sexual activity, delinquency, or reduced academic performance. These are all things that tie into, precocious puberty. If you're a parent and wondering like, why should this matter, those are all things that I hope parents care about. I know I would if it was my child. But yeah, basically, um, for weight loss, I'm gonna get into that more. I just wanted to let you guys know the estrogen component to that, and why it would affect girls disproportionately to guys, as far as the age that they hit puberty, but also the estrogen definitely feminizes men and slows down puberty. And this article said, like I don't think I've already mentioned, that it's not just our species, it's all species on this globe are being estrogenized and turned more female. So you're welcome, world. Not just us, but great white sharks, everything out there is supposedly becoming a little bit Bruce Jennerized, which is, in my eyes, not a positive trend. But on that topic, though, a lot of people are doing these sorts of things these days, switching back and forth, which I think has to do with everything with our melatonin cycles being completely disrupted by the blue light and all the different radiation and all the stuff that we have going on. But basically, I just wanted to say that never allow your child or your friend or anyone to at least go through that phase without hearing about bioidentical hormones. And I'll say that again, bioidentical hormones are the only thing that anyone should be using on a human body. Synthetic hormones are not for us. They're not for any living thing in my eyes. That's what's used on cattle to make them fat for slaughter. It should not be used on you. Um, and so I don't care what your motives are. First of all, if you are thinking about going down any sort of road like that, or if your kid is, my advice is get your cortisol checked, get your spit test for your hormones tested, and make sure that you're balanced before you go around switching from one to the other. But yeah, just too many people are doing that the wrong way and going about it the Western medicine way, and just want to remind you guys that no matter what you're doing, they don't have our best interests at heart. And so I just wanted to bring this up. This is something that I found in the recent weeks, about the pineal gland, and it's basically under main attack in my eyes from fluoride, but it's also phosphorus, which is maybe from the excess meat that we're not digesting, or overly cooked meats in our diet, and then also calcium, which there's lots of indigestible calciums in our diet. But anyways, the pineal gland getting clogged is directly affecting our hormones and causing puberty to go down as well. Basically, because melatonin is produced by your pineal gland. Melatonin is what's supposed to make you tired at night. It's supposed to be overriding your other hormones so that you get into that sleep state and want to rest and recover for the next day. And so because our pineal glands are being clogged amongst all the other different assaults on our melatonin system, I think that's a big factor in our hormonal system. And they haven't done too many studies on people. They said in here they've done a couple which have shown that it definitely is lowering the age. They said in one study, and this is obviously just one generation people, but they did a study. One town had fluoride, the other town didn't, and just in those 2 towns there was a 5-month difference, and they're in the same state. 5-month difference in puberty, and so you look at that generation after generation, it adds up to the sort of trend that we see on that graph, which I showed you earlier. But people who don't know, everyone should know that the pineal gland is just a small pine cone shaped gland in the center of your brain. It's been referred to as the third eye, which is supposed to connect you to higher consciousness, to, you know, our creator, to basically a purpose on this life. So it couldn't be more essential. Protecting your hormones and your pineal gland all go hand in hand. It's one of the many reasons that I think that we should all be out of this, you know, degradative environment, like I've been saying. But I want to make sure I'm not missing anything that I wanted to talk about. This is a very important video for me. I know it's 30 minutes. I appreciate anyone who stood here and listened to me ramble on, but this is largely why I got into the nonprofit arena and started doing the things that I'm doing. I worked for Kaiser for 9 years, and it wasn't until about year 7 that I found out that we were not-for-profit. And not only that, but what does a not-for-profit mean? I'll tell you guys. A not-for-profit essentially means that they make a shit ton of profit, but they give it a little bit to charity, and so government grants them not-for-profit status. And so if you're thinking what I was thinking when you first heard that is, how the hell can you make profit when you're not-for-profit? It doesn't make sense. Well, it doesn't, but lots of things don't make sense in this country, so just roll with it. My fact and my point that I'm trying to get at is that I hope that you guys out there, if you have a question for me or for the community, feel free to message me personally or message the community thing. I check everything. I'm the manager on there. So if you need any questions answered, I am an actual nonprofit health community. We don't make profit at all. We never plan to. I plan to enact as much positive social change for our species and just this earth as possible. And you know, every time we get more money, that'll mean more jobs and more environment being saved, hopefully. But just wanted to basically give you guys a little heads up. I'm going to tell you more about exactly the plans for what I want my home base to be, first off here in California, and then our plans going forward from there. But appreciate y'all for staying on and listening, and I hope you all learned something today about precocious puberty, which, like I've said, is a very important problem. I wrote something down here. For me, it's a good analogy, like I was saying earlier, with like if you really like the developed world as it is today, and you know, there's aspects of it that will forever miss, or maybe experience in small amounts. But two things. I'm wearing this sweater today because our Earth has a flag, and it's based off of some guy's masters he wrote on this symbol, the flower of life, and basically how to him it means the interdependence of nations and how we all need to come together on this earth. Shout out to Matt Damon. Shout out to Matt Damon, by the way, who recently mentioned that on a YouTube video I watched. So it was awesome. It's awesome to see celebrities saying, you know, great, peaceful, harmonious messages like that. So I hope you keep doing it, man. And just wanted to basically say that while we come together, and also I wanted to let you guys know that this developed world where we all are currently together, and if you are in like a stage of life where you're like, look, I don't have time to see Eco Villages get made and this new world that you're dreaming of get created. I don't want to live in the world with the people of Earth as they are today, and I get that. I just want to let you guys know that, in my opinion, this analogy I hope applies to you and it makes sense, as it makes sense to me. But being healthy in the developed world, in North America, especially this far from the equator, it is possible. But it's like staying grounded on the moon. You know, you need to have the right amount of help from scientists. You need to have the right amount of money to be able to pay those scientists. You need to be able to have, you know, the right amount of drive to want to be there. Because if you don't want to be on the fucking moon, then you're not going to last long up there, because it's kind of like, take me back to Earth, where I can just take all this bullshit off and just walk around. But anyways, that's the tip I'm on. I'm just like taking back to Earth, not this like zombie zone that we currently live in. But it's starting to get dark and close to my bedtime. Like I said, 34 minutes. Appreciate y'all if you listen to me for this long. Hope you learned something.